Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we are going to be talking about what triggered you. And this is going to be more, laid back episodes because I'm definitely going to give you a list of things that we're going to chat about really quickly to be a helpful resource. And I think it's going to be good. But before we jump into that, I do want to invite you over to say hi to me, to send me a DM, to become friends on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or you are welcome to send me a good old-fashioned email. Both of those things are in the show notes below, so you can spell them and be able to send me an email. But again, I would love to hear from you on Instagram. I would love to chat with you. If you have any suggestions or feedback for the show, if you have like a great topic in mind, or you just want to say hi, I would love to hear from you. Love to chat with you. Love to get to know you. You guys are amazing. But let's go ahead and just jump right in today's episode. So today we're going to talk about what triggered you. I thought it was a cute little title because it's just something that I feel like a lot of people will use as a joke to be like, wow, I was triggered by that. When there are a lot of people in the world that are constantly, and I mean, like, maybe not constantly, some probably regularly, my goodness, triggered by different things that they are going through that people may not even realize or understand. And just to be real with you, we were in marriage counseling last week, I think. Yeah, last week. And my husband and I, we go to marriage counseling every other week. And it's not because we're having problems. It's because we're trying to better our communication as a couple. And it's super helpful. And I suggest any couple to do that because it can be so helpful. Even if you don't have big problems, just wanting to make sure everything is strong and solidified and you guys are on the same page. It's so helpful. But anyway, our counselor was bringing up the idea of like, oh, well, maybe your partner is triggered by something and you're not even realizing it. And that's why they're reacting in a certain way. And my husband was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that she brought this up because it hadn't been really something that I thought about as important to talk about. And I was kind of embarrassed about it, to be honest with you, to tell my husband that I was triggered by something and he didn't really understand what that meant. But it was nice to have a professional there to help him understand a lot easier because despite the fact that I know a lot of things and I do a lot of research and study on my own, sometimes it's a lot easier just to believe a professional that gets paid to talk about that kind of stuff every day. Anyway, I digress. But I think it's super important to actually talk about being triggered in less of a comical kind of silly way and more of like these things actually really happen to you. So a lot of times we get triggered by things and are not even realizing that our reaction is due to a trigger. So a lot of people know what triggers are, but maybe you find yourself reacting in a certain way and you don't even realize it. Like you had no idea that that was a trigger. And it's important to be able to identify it because as we know and as we talk about a lot, the more that we know about ourselves and understand ourselves, the better and stronger we can become and how we can overcome certain things and be able to manage other things and just know ourselves better, right? So it doesn't cause any anxiety or stress on us. But a trigger is when something comes up that reminds you of a negative experience you went through, just in case you aren't clear on what that would be. So again, a trigger is when something comes up that reminds you of a negative experience you went through. And that can be anything, right? Like someone you encountered resembles an attacker that maybe you have had or you have witnessed someone being attacked, or you go to a place where something negative happened before and that triggers you into that memory, into those feelings, into reacting in the way that you reacted in that moment. Or you observe someone else getting abused the way that you have been abused. Or hearing similar words or verbal attacks you have dealt with in the past. Or even being touched a seemingly innocent way that was used abusively before. And that could even be just like, squeezes, as innocent as something like a squeeze on a shoulder or a hug or, just like a hand at the small of your back if you were like on a date or something and your partner or your date is just trying to guide you along because it's a nice gentleman thing to do. But before it was used in an inappropriate way. All of these things can be triggers and so many more. And I want you to know that whatever you find that you are triggered by, you don't have to apologize for. You don't have to have a reason for it, really. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. If it triggers you, then it triggers you. And I want you to know that. And I want you to accept that. And I want you to not take anyone else's crap if, they find out what triggers you and make fun of you for it or whatever, or choose to not understand. And hear me when I say they choose not to understand, because it's very easy to be understanding of someone. Maybe it's not easy to, deeply understand, but it's easy to be understanding in a way of like, oh, okay, well that bothers you. I respect that, Do you know what I mean? So I just want you to know it's okay. It doesn't have to be, a trigger doesn't have to be something that happened that was the end of the world or like the worst thing in the world, or you don't have to be like beat to death or deeply abused or anything like that. Like, honestly, if you just happen to witness someone robbing a store and nothing really bad happened to you, you just witnessed it, you weren't even in like the line of fire or close to being hurt at all. But anytime you go into a store, that kind of store now, and maybe it triggers you because you have that fear of it happening again, that's fine, okay? Triggers don't need to be saved for people that have like serious emotional problems. It can just be a bad experience that you had before. Okay, I think you get the point. But yeah, it it can be so many different things. And I wanted to let you know, because I'm super open and vulnerable here with you guys, that I didn't realize until the last couple of years that getting hugs from people I don't have a very close relationship with. And when I mean very close, I would exclude my husband and my daughter, especially since I gave birth to her. And, I don't know, maybe a couple relatives. And my mom and my dad. But yeah, I when I get hugs from people that are any people outside of those people, even some close friends that I have, it's really triggering for me. And I laugh because I just, it's easy to just talk about things in jest and make fun of ourselves. And it's not funny, but I do make a joke out of it a little bit, but it does really trigger me, It made me feel very uncomfortable getting hugs from anyone outside of that group, of that short list of people. And obviously my daughter and my husband weren't on that list when I was, 19 and younger. And so basically it was just my mom and my dad. Getting hugs from people was super uncomfortable, but I never took the time to really understand why, or that I was even that weird about it, to be honest with you. And that could be your same thing. Maybe you're realizing that you're having a reaction to something, or something makes you uncomfortable, or something just makes you feel differently in a negative way. And you're like, I don't understand why. But maybe it's because you're reacting to a trigger. And so, unless someone was trying to give me a hug, it was not something that I ever thought about or worried about, to be honest with you. And it's interesting because it was other people's comments that really opened my eyes to something that I was dealing with, and not that will necessarily happen to you if you're unknown of the fact that something that you're reacting to is a trigger, but it is helpful to know the people that are close in your life can give you that insight if you're willing to at least hear them out. Maybe they probably won't be right all the time, but if enough people are saying the same thing, you might want to consider it. I'm still not saying it's true, but a consideration is fair. And so, yeah, it really made me think, like, why am I so uncomfortable with this? And it's a lot of things, but it's really because I was just used emotionally, mentally as a child. And so many people came in and out of my life, and so many people pretended that they cared, and a lot of people wanted to hug, and it felt fake, and it felt inappropriate, and it felt so many things. And the only people growing up that I could trust was my dad, despite the fact that he's not the best person at all, and my mother. And anyone else, it was tough. It was really tough for me. And yeah, and so if you have a similar thing, I'm not saying hugging, but anything, it's okay. It's okay that you're dealing with that. It's okay that if you're struggling with that, it's okay if you have yet to overcome it. I'm not saying that you have to overcome whatever triggers you have. I just want you to own the fact that you have those triggers and that you're working on your reactions to be the most mild that they can be, that you can live with, that you can manage, that will work in your life, right? I still haven't really recovered from my hug thing. I will give people hugs if they have requested a hug, if it seems okay, but I don't like it. I'm not like a deep hugger. No, it's a quick one and I'm moving along. And yes, I make myself uncomfortable to make other people feel good, but sometimes that's okay, especially if I know it's blessing them. Like if a girlfriend at church is having a hard time and I need to give her, I feel like a hug would benefit her. I'll give her a hug and make myself uncomfortable for 30 seconds. But that's it, and it that kind of thing is helping me to figure it out and get better. But I'm pretty sure for the rest of my life, I will not be that person that loves to give hugs. It's just not me. And that's okay. So, again, it was interesting that I realized what was going on because of someone else's comments, which is something to be aware of too. You might not think, again, that you have any triggers, but you could without even knowing it. And those close to you could be really insightful if you feel like it's something that you want to know more about. So just a consideration. Or if you want to see a professional about it, or if you want to talk to your current therapist about it, someone that's mentoring you, someone you're close to, that could be good too. So today, I want to chat about 10 different things that have been known to cause triggers and situations to consider thinking over when these happen to better understand yourself and growth personally. And so these aren't going to be very specific. They're going to be kind of, generalized, but they're going to be helpful. And I know that whatever you know is you're triggered by, or whether you don't know and it's just things that you react to, these can help you really think about like, wow, am I being triggered by this? Is this something I need to consider in my life? And I really just want you to know the list, and I've gathered these ideas from online and research I've done, and I want you just to like consider them. And because if you feel like you are triggered, maybe you can help yourself define more of what those triggers are and how to manage them. Okay, so quick list of 10. The first one is feeling forgotten or excluded. I feel like a lot of these on the list I will relate to. I have a lot of triggers in my life. The hug thing was just the easiest one and the most recent one that comes up a lot to share with you guys. But feeling forgotten or excluded. I have felt forgotten and excluded from many groups of people, or in the workplace, or even in my family sometimes. And it does trigger me. It triggers me to feel very upset or want to do something in a revengeful way. And that's not the right answer, obviously, but I'm being totally honest with you here about my reactions and my mindset. And no, I do not react on everything. Thank goodness. Getting stronger, getting better. But these are initially things that I've had in the past or even still dealing with now. And so, when I'm feeling forgotten or excluded, I get really sad. I get really upset. I feel like I kind of go into this little pity party in my mind and sometimes out loud. This depends. And that really triggers me to feel so small and feel like nothing. And I felt like that a lot as a child. So that definitely is something that I'm working on, and maybe could be something that you're dealing with too. The second one is to feeling unsafe. So there have been times where I've been in a group of people, or I've been in a situation where I just felt really unsafe, and that triggered me to feel stressed, to feel anxious, and to need to leave that situation or that group of people as soon as possible. And there have been times where I have left, if I could, if I'm able to figure it out and just get out of there because I didn't feel comfortable. And I think that despite the fact that triggers are always seen in some sort of negative light, I think that those triggers can actually help keep you safe, because if you are feeling unsafe, there's going to be a reason for it. Even if you are dealing with the trigger of being in a similar situation, and maybe the situation isn't as bad, but still wanting to keep yourself safe, I would say go with your gut and get out of there. But understand that some triggers can be helpful and to keep you out of trouble that you may have let yourself get into before in the past. And that's so great. So yeah, another trigger would be feeling unsafe. The third one is feeling like you aren't cared for. For sure, I struggled with this. But there are times in my life where I felt like I've put a lot of time and effort and care into someone else, and that wasn't getting reciprocated back to me, which is an unfair expectation. I do admit that, but feeling like you aren't cared for, especially when you are caring for someone else, can be really hard. It can make you feel resentful. It can make you feel hatred. It can make you feel like, again, revengeful. You want to show that person that that they are so much better with you than without you. It makes you want to leave, makes you want to run away. And, the triggers, when they happen and the reaction that you choose, be careful with your reaction, because it's fine to feel the way that you feel, but you need to be careful with your reaction. You don't want to do anything revengeful. You don't want to run away from the situation. You want to figure it out. And you don't want to hurt someone on purpose just because you're hurt. Hurt people do hurt people. And we need to stop that cycle, right? So if you feel like you aren't cared for, you need to speak up if you can. The fourth one, feeling unloved in any type of relationship. And I wanted to make sure that I noted any type of relationship, because you could feel unloved in a marriage, or you could feel unloved in just like a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever partnership situation, or you can feel unloved in a friendship, right? And if you're feeling unloved, you're not feeling like considered. You're not feeling like they care for you, or that they're there for you, right? Because love can mean so many things. And when you're not feeling that way, again, you feel like you want to run, or you feel like you want to be cold and turn away from them, or you want to try to find that love somewhere else, even though that usually when we go looking for love on purpose really, really hard, we'll find love that's fake, and love that's not lasting, and love that's not going to really be there for us. Maybe not all the time, but a lot of the time it's true. And so again, if you're feeling unloved, you need to speak up. You need to figure out what you need to do to get all of those emotions on the table, share them with each other, and figure it out. Don't just drop it and let it go, because there could be, and most likely is, a communication error or misunderstanding. Okay? And this is all just my personal advice based upon my research and everything. If you don't like this advice, or you don't think this advice will work for you, again, I always suggest that you guys talk to a professional, like a therapist, a psychologist, or a mentor, or someone that you trust, and, choose the advice that's going to work best for you. Okay? So the fifth one, feeling trapped. Oh my gosh. So feeling trapped is kind of similar for me to feeling unsafe. I feel like I'm trapped in like a group of people, or I feel like I'm trapped at like an event or at someone's house. There have been times where I've gone to like a small group at church, and I'll get to the house and it'll feel fine, but then more and more people will file in, and more groups will form within all those people that file in, and I kind of feel like I'm excluded, and but then I also feel like, how am I going to get out of here? And it feels really hard, because you feel like people are watching you, and it just goes on and on and on with that mindset and that mental thinking, and I feel trapped, right? Or you find yourself at an event or with a group of people that you thought you trusted, or that you thought you vibed with, and then you realize that you don't really vibe with them, and you feel trapped, and you need to get out of there. And yes, I would definitely trust the reaction from the trigger of wanting to get out of there if you do feel trapped, if you feel unsafe, if you don't feel like you will be able to thrive in that situation, or keep yourself safe, or keep your mindset stable, which is also very important. So maybe your trigger is feeling trapped. The sixth one is feeling like you couldn't speak up or are unheard. So you did try to speak up, you did, and no one decided to listen to you. It's tough. It sucks. It really does. I feel like that's a lot, because you feel like you're being silenced, or you weren't given an opportunity to speak up, and when other people were given that opportunity, right? Or whatever it was, or you did and they just weren't listening on purpose or on accident. I don't know. And so for this, I feel anger. You might, again, feel resentment. You might feel confusion and anxiety and sadness and a myriad of different emotions with this one. And the thing that you need to do is, if you're able to directly speak with the person that you wanted to speak up to or share what was on your heart or on your mind, then do that. If you can't, then find a way to share what you wanted to share to someone else that will actually appreciate it, and find better ways for you to feel comfortable in speaking up or getting what you want to be said across to that group of people. Because there are going to be times where you didn't get the opportunity, or people just weren't in the mindset to listen actively. But try to get that opportunity again, and don't let that falter you or cut you off and never try again, because that's not fair to you or to the people that should be there listening to what you have to say. Because everyone has something to say, and it's all important because we all matter. Okay, number 7. I am trying to go through these because I know it's a lot. Feeling like something wasn't fair. This is something that I deal with a lot, and I need to get over it, really. Not just get over it, but you know what I mean. I need to overcome it more and more every time, because I have such a heart for justice and things being fair, but not everything in life is going to be fair. That's just not how life is, and that's okay. But when you feel like something isn't fair, you can be triggered to be hurt, to be upset, angry. And a lot of times I am. And I have to calm myself and be like, okay, well, life isn't fair. And maybe it couldn't be fair in this situation. And maybe it doesn't need to be fair because my needs were not as crucial as someone else's. What I wanted wasn't as important as what someone else needed, right? Despite the fact that I say all the time that we all matter, we do. But sometimes someone else's needs need to trump our wants and our desires. And that's just the truth. Because we need to know that being selfish all the time isn't the right answer. But if you have been feeling triggered by feeling like something wasn't fair, you need to talk to the person that made the decision and figure out why it was made the way it was. If there's anything you can do to change it, anything you can do different in the future, or maybe you just need to move on because it was unfair on purpose and it's just a bad situation that you got yourself in. Or not like you got yourself in, but you know what I mean, where it just sucks. That just sucks, and you have to move on because you're dealing with people that don't want to be fair or care. Number 8, this trigger, feeling like someone is blaming you. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like when people are blaming me for something, whether I'm to be blamed or not, right? And it can feel very overwhelming. It can feel like someone's coming down on you so hard. This actually goes into my next one, which is number 9, which is feeling judged by others. So when you feel like someone is blaming you, or you feel like you're being judged directly, your trigger could be to run away, to want to escape, to want to break down mentally and cry and be upset. And a lot of these things can be therapeutic, but I think the best thing to do would just listen to what they're going to say, and then if they're blaming you and it wasn't you, tell them calmly as you can, it was not me, and then excuse yourself. If someone is judging you, you can tell them, well, I hear what you're saying, but I do not agree with what you're stating, and then take some time away. Sometimes the reactions, the myriad of reactions that we could have, a lot of them will just not fit the situation the best, and you just need to take a step back and take a breather from the whole situation to figure out what is the best thing to do rather than the thing that you want to do in the moment, because a lot of times we make these split decisions in the moment and they are just not going to work out well. They're not going to work out in our favor. So it's important for us to understand that, again, if you're feeling like someone is blaming you, if you're feeling judged by others, consider what you can do so you don't say anything you might regret, and don't accept what they're saying. Just be like, okay, I hear you, but I didn't do this, or I did this, I apologize if they're blaming you for something that you did do. And then take a step back. Force yourself to take a step back so you can kind of like reevaluate what actually needs to happen and then move forward with your action. Okay, number 10, let's wrap this up. Feeling like you're being manipulated. Ooh, I hate it. And I dealt with this a lot growing up. My dad master manipulator, which actually taught me how to be a master manipulator. It's funny how that works. But I try really hard, and I talk to my husband about this often. Like, I don't want to manipulate anyone, and I used to do that on the regular growing up because that's what was happening to me. It's not a good example. It's not a good excuse at all. I agree with that. But it was the way that I was taught of how to get what you want. And that's what I did. But I, of course, now when I feel like I'm being manipulated, it's a trigger for me. It's a trigger for me to be like, no, you don't have control over me. No, you don't get to make decisions, or you don't get to have a say, or you're not going to coerce me or try to get me to do something that I don't want to do, or that, trying to make me not understand what's happening. It really freaks me out. It really freaks me out. And usually what I have to do is I have to take a step back. And that's the only reaction that I can choose, because if not, I will just go off in a lash of anger. And it's not pretty, and it's not nice, and it doesn't give me a chance to calm down and take myself away from the situation. It's not as though I want to go back. If I'm truly am being manipulated, you're not going to want to go back. You're going to want to take a step back and then figure out how to get away from that, how to really sever ties with whatever is happening in that situation, right? But you need a cool head to do that. You need you need to have your thoughts together, understand what's happening, and understand what the safest and best way is to go about getting out of that situation. And for me, when I was a child, I couldn't as a child. And so that's another reason in turn why I was like, okay, well, these people are going to manipulate me. I'm going to manipulate these other people so that I can at least enjoy my life a little bit and get through this hellhole that I feel like I'm in. So feeling like you're being manipulated, of course, it's going to be a trigger. But you got to take a step back and then figure out how to get away from that situation. So hopefully having this set of examples and speaking on triggers has been super helpful for you today. I know it's something that we could definitely talk a lot more about, and we probably will in the future, but I wanted to just give you a quick list of things to think about, consider if you find that you don't think you're triggered, but maybe you are, or you are, and you'd like to think of more ways that you might be, or you're not quite sure exactly what you have been triggered by, and you just need some situations and examples to think over and consider in your life. But thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast again with me, Sabrina. I hope that this has really helped you genuinely. Thank you so much for coming back and listening, sharing, and downloading the show. You guys are amazing, making my dreams come true, being able to help as many people as I can through the powers of the internet. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that you come back soon, and have a good one, everyone, okay? Bye.